That's game one for now. We saw one of the teams defending their spot in the SPL versus one of the challengers of it overall. Now for game two, we get the same thing. We've got Enemy now going to be going up against Cope's new team. If you all recognize Cope, you will do. He was with Weekend in
don't
the
worry,
AOG team.
Cope, he's still the problem.
He is still the problem. That's the name of their team today. Cope is still the problem. Up against Enemy, whose roster has been announced finally after a lot of talk. It's the same team. No Marauder, though, in solo lane. They've now brought in MrMakey or Makey.
Yeah, Makey, I think, who knows? Makey, whatever. He's been around the scene for a long time. Previously on Enemy a couple seasons ago. Now back with a team, this time in the solo lane. Pretty strong player, plays a lot of ranked. I think the public opinion of him, of the high-level ranking players, is kind of all over the place. Some people think he's pretty good. Some people think he still has a lot of work to do before he's SPL level, but this is a great chance for him to show off that he is already ready for the SPL.
Let's go into pick some bands and see how this one plays out between the two then, because MrMakey is definitely going to be a talking point overall. He did play on a Cloud9 roster once upon a time. If you remember Barracuda getting very, very sick at a Super Regionals.
Oh, yeah.
He stepped in there to fill in the solo lane when Omega went to the duo. So he showed his performance in that game too. He actually stepped up to play against some of the big boys.
Yeah, he's been there. He's been in this scene before, like I mentioned, and like you just said, I mean, he has the experience. Just a matter of can he be ready in the solo lane for Season 4? A lot of adjustments that everyone has to make.
A couple of changes here in terms of picks and bans. Is a Nami and Giannis focus from the two teams. Clear respect from Cope towards Khaos in the mid lane with a Giannis ban as well, so early in the season.
Yeah, I mean, Khaos is Giannis. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is, what season it is. If Khaos is playing Giannis, you're going to have a tough time. But this does leave open Sylvanus for PainDeViande in that support role.
A lot of things open, to be honest, with how this game's gone so far. It's only really been Nike and Tough are the two that have been focused overall in terms of bans throughout the whole weekend, I guess.
Yeah.
Likes of Ratatoskr now getting through, which is very dominant right now, I want to say.
Very, very strong. We saw Repicos yesterday play it to great effect. Basically, everyone who played at Frosty had a great game as well. Very, very strong. I love this Apollo selection for sops at the duo lane, keeping it away from PandaCat. PandaCat has this same sort of mentality of sometimes he looks like he's the best hunter in the world, and other times just not quite on his game. And Apollo being the strongest hunter right now, I don't think I would have wanted to give that to him.
There's one problem about that, though, and that is the fact that PandaCat loves his Artemis.
He does love his Artemis.
One thing that's great against an Apollo is an Artemis, so they could look to run that one. With not picking it so early, though, in the draft, it does tell me there's a chance for Cope to recognize that now and just make sure that's not available.
That's a great point. That's one of his signature gods, especially when he can, by Flickering Ritual now at any time, he can just blink Artemis ult you all game long.
No, he could have Blink and Flickering Ritual, so we can have two.
Just blink, ult, blink back out.
There you go, straight away the Artemis ban from Cope. They recognize that could have been a bit of a situation for them as well, especially with Sylvanus in that dual lane as well. It allows them to just weather some of the early game issues that a lot of people say Artemis has.
Yeah, really, really strong duo lane. I think that's one of my personal favorites early on here in Season 4. Agni selected. That's the first time we've seen him in Season 4. No surprise that it's Khaos bringing it out. Yeah, loves this god. Always has. And depending on his mid lane matchup, I think Agni has a very strong spot in Season 4. If you're safely able to dash the first wave, you're going to outclear any other mid.
But there's a lot of things available in the mid that can cause issues for an Agni at the level 1 fight. Poseidon rings a bell straight away, and a Zeus, too, that I think
Zeus is the only one. Zeus and Isis are, I think, the only two that
you don't feel
really...
Poseidon with the Whirlpool?
No, because you clear too slowly with it. You could dash before the Whirlpool hits, and then you already have the lane advantage, and he can't really do anything to you anyways. On her going to be the other ban, focused out on PandaCat. Nox going to be the ban here against the mid laner for Cope. Surprised it wasn't the Zeus ban. Zeus seems like one of the strongest mid laners early on here in Season 4. Excellent level 1 wave clear, great team fighting capability.
Double Hunter.
But it's going to be the double hunter, Ullr, locked in.
Now, this is a very weak front line so far. I mean, Ratatoskr can go in and out. He's very similar to Thor in a lot of ways. New improved Thor is the best way I'm looking at Ratatoskr now. Obviously, his ultimate has a knock-up as well, just to add to the same sort of thing Thor would do, and then some sustaining the kit on top of that. But Ullr and Apollo together here, it's going to be interesting to which one goes where. I'm expecting Ullr in mid then.
I'm worried a little bit about the magical damage or the lack thereof there from Cope, because it's going to be very, very easy for Vamana, who already wants to stack physical protection because of his passive, to just snag that up, get that extra physical protection, a Hide of the Nemean Lion, a Thorns maybe, just make it very, very difficult to kill him, even in that big baby form. And another Cupid. 2 games so far in North America, and 2 Cupids.
Cupid makes a little bit of sense here against an Apollo. Apollo versus Cupid is a matchup that Cupid does have a very big advantage in, with the whole combination forcing him into really awkward positions.
That is true, but Apollo just brings so much more to the late game, and he outclears Cupid in the early game still, so you're going to have to seek Pain, really spend some time with PandaCat in lane, I think, to give him that opportunity to get that solo kill.
Is this Cope playing Ymir solo here by the looks of it?
I believe so, yeah. Cope actually pretty comfortable on this Ymir solo. We saw him play it a couple times times on that Allegiance roster, and that does help their lack of magical damage. They aren't running the 4 physicals like I thought they might, so I like this selection from Cope.
Well, let's see how this works out between Enemy and Cope's new team, or Cope is still the problem, I should say, overall here. It's a crazy one on paper, because I'm looking at whether it's going to be Agni on his own in mid, or are we going to see the Sylvanus turn up with him?
Either way, I think that it has some merit. Up against the Ullr in the middle lane for, it's actually Fearno playing in the middle lane for Cope is the problem. I know he was listed as their sub. Fearno played a lot with Enemy last split when PandaCat was away. Just trying to get in there and do it, I guess.
This could get spicy then, especially if Fearno knows the way the enemy play and knows where to exploit them and make them hurt in the comms more than anything else. If they can shut down communications or put them in a negative light, they've got an opportunity then. Fearno has shown his ability as a hunter in the past. He played a lot when PandaCat was not available last split.
Yeah, Fearno, I think a lot of people, or the casual viewer at home, may recognize him and see that was a dark time for Enemy in that split, but it was not because of Fearno's play. Fearno absolutely proved that he can play with the best hunters in North America, which is one of the deepest pools.
Sops take a lot of free poke here overall, looking to trade out, and now he's down to half health already. Look at his build as well, just so you know at home. He doesn't have any sustain left, and he has to sit in this lane that looks like it's going to be a 2v1 as well, as they have sent Viper to the mid lane. But look at mid lane. Round the corner, waits for Rizziel with Khaos as well. Looking for an interesting play here. The burn damage coming through from Khaos. Going to catch on to him. Rizziel hits him with a scythe too, but a nice turnaround from Fearno with the axe to the face.
That's exactly what I'm talking about with Agni, though. You just clear so easily with that Path of Flames that even if you allow the enemy team to get a little bit of push pressure for the first few seconds, you come around the back and get a free dash on. Now the invade coming onto the speed buff for Rizziel is trying to secure it here, but Mexiety alongside Cope, they're looking at it.
Yeah, Mexiety still level 1, everybody remember, so not multiple abilities, but Khaos out of position there, gets body blocked to high heaven, and the speed buff is stolen as well by Cope, and now they're looking for the pick onto Rizziel. No, changing their mind, going for the experience. Better call here.
Only level 1 on Mexiety on this solo Ymir, so Cope actually moves back to the jungle. Mexiety goes to solo lane. A lot of different, hold that thought. On the right-hand side, blink freeze. MrMakey, nice clear the path.
Level 2, clear the path comes into play overall there as well. Still 1-0 in the favor of Cope is the new problem based off this game. This has been an interesting start though, because in Sops on the left-hand side, he's been pressured here by Enemy. The duo lane of PainDeViande and PandaCat stole away the purple buff. They're stealing away the red buff, even though the right-hand side of the map is all in Cope's favor.
Yeah, and this definitely favors Cope, just because they did get that first blood onto Khaos and then that purification beads on Rizziel as well, who actually went for Mark the Vanguard, not going for an aggressive start, but for the defensive one.
Well, we didn't mention this as well, but obviously it is Cope in the solo lane here, Mexiety in the jungle on that Ymir. Also, it's Ratatoskr and a Ymir jungle. That's why the cameraman saw what we did wrong as well there as well. Because I was like, hang on a second, is that Cope in jungle? I wasn't expecting that.
That's what I thought it was too. That's why I said in there. And Viper, who was the mid laner for this team during the open bracket, moves over to support, replaces Valentine, and that opens the door, I suppose, for Fearno to come in and fill in that middle role. So a couple changes here for Cope is still the problem, but definitely looking pretty strong early on.
Yeah, the starters worked out very well for them. Enemy clearly had a plan at the level 1 with Agni and the Thanatos in the mid lane, but it didn't work as they hoped overall. Instead, they got punished for that one and actually put Cope in a better position in this solo lane.
Yeah, Makey's got to be careful here. Acorn Blast should be coming off cooldown any second now, but he misses, only hits
He's
one.
Dead, though.
It's going to be really, really close. 1 HP. Cope able to pick up the solo kill onto the brand new solo laner, MrMakey.
Calculated. That's what Cope's saying there. And he's also shown that he can play more than Erlang Shen as well, because everyone was just saying he only had 1 god in his god pool. Well, Ratatoskr is in there too. Now 2 kills the way of Cope is still the problem with Cope getting both those kills.
Yeah, hey man, not a problem early on. 2-0, like you mentioned. And we thought this Ymir was going to be going into the solo lane, but I think it fits just as well in the jungle, if not better, because taking a look at Enemy's composition, how do you get over Ymir wall? It's only Thanatos ult that gets you over the Ymir wall. So if Cope can find the right engagements in the jungle around Mexiety, they can use that with those walls, cut off the escape pass, and really get a good fight going for them.
And normally on paper, you'd look at an Agni and go, these Ymir walls are really good at causing problems, but Agni's one of the exceptions to the rules to an extent, because his dash will just push past the wall. Hold that thought. The Rizziel looking for a gank here. The rollout is down for Viper here, still level 4. No Cataclysm available. Walks back towards PandaCat, just trying to find an exit. Completely free pick. Well played by Enemy.
Right, great recognition there. Enemy just sticking together, the mid jungle, Virizial and Khaos just walking together in the jungle. They see Viper taking the rollout the wrong way and immediately are able to pick him off.
Looking for the steal away with Sops there, but unfortunately Virizial's going to clean that one up instead for the side of Enemy. I like Enemy's adjustment here. They're losing the right-hand side of the map, so what do? They default to pressure in the left-hand side to try and keep things even.
Exactly. If you're not going to be able to get your buffs, you may as well take the enemies, because if you know Mexiety is going to be on the right, that opens up the left side of the jungle very, very easily. The problem with this is that MrMakey is already pretty far behind, and then you're giving up both buffs on that side every single time. They're basically just letting Makey drift off to sea right now. They're saying, good luck, buddy. Thanks for joining the team. Enjoy yourself.
Enjoy solo lane.
Yeah.
Pretty much. It's the same sort of thing that Marauder pretty much probably had to deal with as well throughout the year. But at the same time, in the grand scheme of things, it is a Vamana, so as long as he just continues to farm, he's still going to make an impact in the late game of absorbing damage, disrupting the backline a little bit.
A little bit, but Vamana's really best in the middle game whenever he could start to rotate in and just do a ton of damage with his insane base numbers on his abilities. And if you're behind, then you just kind of do nothing on Vamana, and that seems pretty bad.
Well, Enemy, we're looking to see where the red mid lane.
There's the wall!
Find a great wall after the freeze. Misses. Virizial going to beat, and Khaos takes a lot of poke, but Pain is right next to him. In the sky, though, he stops, looking to clean up the kill onto one, but instead he turns his attention to Khaos, knowing that Virizial's already dead.
So beautiful. Just a little bit off, though. I don't know if it would have been enough to finish off Khaos. Mexiety, there it was. We've only seen one engagement with the wall, but it was perfect. Catches both there, and it results in 2 sets of purifications and 1 kill onto Virizial.
You saw the best and worst of it. Ymir there overall. Sops gets double killed by a great wombo of PainDeViande's ult, followed by the Fields of Love.
Not only that, but Sops uses his purification bead, so PandaCat is licking his chops, waiting for him to come back to lane, especially with that ultimate down for a little bit. He's got so much kill potential in that lane now, and he is massive. 3-0 on the young baby hunter.
Right-hand side, though, Copey's still pressuring this lane up against Mackie. Obviously, with the regeneration he's got from the blue buff on his mana, Mackie's had to fall back to base more times than he would like to overall. Has to play this very carefully, and because of that, his tower's getting punished.
Yeah, 3 levels down already for Makey in the solo lane. Finally get a ding level 7, but just taking a look at the net worth, I suspect that Cope is way ahead of MrMakey, and he is. He's up about 1,100 gold, and that is a ton in the early game.
Well, it also shows as well, you see that Mackey's actually gone back to base, finished off his boots. We've not really seen Cope go back to base yet, but he's got his boots online, otherwise known as the Acorn for you fans at home that want to complain about that as usual.
Did you know that F-Dot yesterday...
What did he do?
Told me about how Ratatoskr wasn't buying boots, and that was a bad thing.
It is a bad thing not to buy boots.
Ratatoskr can't buy boots.
Yeah, he can.
No, he can't. He just got the Acorn.
No, that's a lie. It's a
I hate you guys so much.
Listen, Twitch chat knows best. Okay? You should
we all know
that
that's true. Yeah, we all do know that.
Twitch chat knows best. And the only bad thing for Cope's new team is all the pressure is on the right-hand side, and it's all the kills are on Cope as well. The rest of them getting involved in some of the assists. Most of the focus has been onto Viper on this Geb in the early game, which is what you kind of expect. But there seems to be a bait around the speed by Enemy.
They're ready for the invade this time around. Nice double bomb stun directly into the death scythe. Virizial, he's looking for the execute. The meditation, though, keeps Viper alive for the time being.
Still looking to stay alive, though. Viper gets focused by Mackie now, who goes to the back line. But Cope came in to make it a 1-for-1. Khaos doing good work with the damage from the back as Mackie pops the big baby. Mexiety's in a bit of trouble here on the Ymir, looking to get away, has the speed buff for the mobility. 1-for-1, jungle for support.
But that favors Cope is still the problem, because Viper is not really worth any gold at this stage in the game. He's 0-3, he's only level 6. Virizial takes his second death and may lose both buffs on the right-hand side because of that. That's what I expect Cope is still the problem to do, is continue to put pressure on this right-hand side. And that's the problem with situations like this, because you're like, okay, I'm sick of losing our buffs. We need to get farm for Makey. Let's go contest. Let's get you get a great start to that engagement. But then Cope comes in and just solos the whole team, basically, because he's so far ahead already.
And now Cope also steals away the blue buff from Mackie one more time this right-hand side. The speed buff does still stand for Enemy to go and take here. Virizial's already back in position to pick this one up. So the speed buff defense was pretty solid there. I loved the little play that they did. The wall from Mexiety did slow them down a little bit, but not enough.
It was just the positioning from Virizial to get that death scythe in the little crevice between the speed buff wall and Mexiety Ymir wall. Great double bomb stun after the double root from PainDeViande and Khaos working together. These three still together here in Season 4, and you expect them to have great teamwork, and that's exactly what they've had so far.
And now they're going to look for the red buff on the left-hand side as well. No response from Cope is the problem here. Fearno's going to be a little bit too late. Has a hail of arrows, not going to find a home. The red was already dead, and now you can see enemy turn straight towards the oracles as well at the Gold Fury pit to secure both of those.
And that's this mid Ullr still hasn't had the impact that you really expect, though. Ullr still is a hunter, so you're expecting him to come a little bit more online in the later game stages, but just hasn't had that impact with the abilities early on so far.
Got a slow build coming on for Fearno as well here. Transcendence after finishing boots means that Transcendence stacking is going to take a little bit longer for that power spike to come into play. But if the game does go late, and I guess that's what Cope is still the problem we're going to be looking to do with double hunters and this front line, they could make an impact.
I mean, that's the idea. The whole reason that you're putting 2 hunters in the game right now is because of how strong crit is, specifically the Shuriken tree, the Poison Star Wind Demon combination. And if you see Fearno go for this style of build, Transcendence second, that's just such a big delay on those 2 huge items that are so important that I don't know if the pick is worth it necessarily.
Sops versus PandaCat, and obviously Apollo does not have a great match here. PandaCat still chasing down, beads available for Sops here, and his ultimate as well. PandaCat invested his ultimate in this trade so far. Panda looking for the heart bomb, gonna find it again. Happy with the damage, and guess who's lurking in the wings right now? Viriziel's on a rotation, but already Sops is on the way back, and the Ymir's there to cover.
Just barely able to get back there, but Gold Fury started up by enemy because of that pressure. There's a classic enemy call, just getting these early Gold Furies down. I don't think Viper's gonna make it in time. He will not. Gold Fury goes the way of enemy.
And that was just a very good call from enemy, knowing they had pressure to turn this around and actually establish a gold lead for the first time in this game as well. Up to 1,000. It's nothing to really write home about and tell your mum, but it's enough to let her know I'm doing okay.
We're doing all right. We could still hang with these young kids in the Challenger Cup. Makey finally starting to catch up in the solo lane. He's only 1 level down now, so he's able to just a little bit better, though still clearly a little bit scared of the pressure that Cope is able to put onto him. Cope actually going for the Hydra's Lament, not the usual tanky Ratatoskr that we see come out of the solo lane. Cope, he's committing to this lead he's earned for himself and going for the damage option.
I mean, well, Sops is just having a rough time against PandaCat in this lane, which is something that you generally see in this matchup. It's not often it goes any other way unless there's mistakes from the Cupid more often than not, or gank pressure from the jungle.
Exactly, and Viriziel hasn't spent a whole lot of time over on that left-hand side. He's been trying to get the buff pressure, which he has, and that's been a big reason why PandaCat is so far ahead. But it's also been all about this damage. Sops used to force use the purification there. PandaCat, that heart bomb gonna do a ton of damage. 1 more auto is all that's needed, and PandaCat finds the solo kill and goes dancing all the way back to the wave. 4-0.
Could actually cause them to lose a tier 1 tower unless someone rotates over there right now, because there's a minion wave coming with him as well. Everyone's still pressuring mid on Cope at the moment. 3 members here. Viper in a bit of an awkward position with bombs raining down too. Pulled into an awkward spot again. The shield's going to absorb some damage. Cataclysm did not hit anywhere. Viriziel does not like the option though to commit, and instead will just be happy with the wave as PandaCat will look for the tower, but in the sky there's a cheeky little rat.
Oh, Cope not going to find the knockup though. He missed it. PandaCat trying to trade back into it. Cope doing so much damage. The stun creating a bunch of distance, but Mexiety has rotated and smacks down the baby with the club. The Ymir picks up the kill.
Fearno in an awkward spot, forced to beat it, looking to leap over the wall. Couldn't get the angle at first, but now manages to leap over back to safety. With the rotation as well from Cope, it is allowing Mackie to continue to catch up a little bit more in farm here and pressure this tier 1 tower on the right-hand side. Teleport available for Cope though.
And that's exactly where he's heading, over to that right-hand side, and make sure that tower doesn't fall, as well as the fact that both buffs are about to respawn. Viriziel already on that speed buff, but without his ultimate, he's in a bad spot. Cope misses the stun, and that means that Viriziel is going to be A-okay, getting out of there as fast as possible.
Well, now at 5-5 here, gold lead is still in enemy's favor, based off the Gold Fury and the tower too, but a couple of answers back here from Cope. They're playing up more than Astral Authority were, when I say they're not necessarily being reactionary that we saw in the first game of these relegations. It's a little bit more give as good as they take.
Exactly, and that's what you want to see out of these Challenger Cup teams. I think a lot of people probably didn't have high expectations for Cope is still the problem after their pretty lukewarm performance in open bracket compared to teams like Gabe is the new, in memory of Gabe. But overall, I think Cope is still the problem, looking very, very strong here early on in this game. Really centered around their problem in Cope.
Do see as well PainDeViande here picking up the spectral armor, which we've seen a couple of times before in the past, but it did have a change where it's a fear now when he takes some damage. A 1 second fear around you, it's gonna an extra CC for free basically.
Yeah, but I don't know if I like this pickup because
Really?
it does get procced on physical auto attacks from a distance, and with 2 hunters, you're most of the time going to just get hit by one of those physical auto attacks. And it is a very long internal cooldown.
Yes,
what is it?
90 seconds.
90 seconds. So all it takes is one auto attack from Fearno or Sops to make sure that isn't happening.
There's a Fear, though,
there
in
it
mid lane
is.
onto Fear. If he can walk around the corner like that and do it, Fearno's going to have to be very careful, especially if his beads are down at any time. Mexiety in the mid lane on the Ymir was looking for the wall on Khaos there as PainDeViande takes exit to the left into the jungle.
Nice
Great pull on Viper though, and Viper's in trouble.
There's a sprint pops just to get him out of that Fields of Love. That's 2 ultimates down for 1 sprint. Nice use of relics there by, it was actually Mexiety who saves his support.
Bit of a bait around the corner here. Bomb lands on Viper again, as does the Scythe, as does the second one. PainDeViande looks for the root, not going to find it. Ultimate was absorbed by Viper though, and Viper can still walk out of this. A lot of investment on to Viper, but he will stay alive.
Really, really nice play from him. A perfectly timed Cataclysm. Probably shouldn't have been there in the first place, but if you are going to be there, you got to make a play to get out alive, and that's exactly what he did. Immunes the Wrath of Terra, and if he would have gotten knocked up, that's a certain death for the support player.
But this does allow here pressure onto the Demon Portal, which is going to go the way of enemy before Cope can turn up to try and contest that one overall. Extra bit of gold in the coffers of enemy.
And that's exactly what enemy likes to do, is have someone hang out in the middle lane like, we're not doing any objective. Why would you think that we're doing some objective? And then you hear the Gold Fury go down or the Portal Demon go down. You're like, damn, dude, they did it again. They stole it out.
Now level 14 up against Cope here. The blue buff being invaded again, but this time Virizio knows what's up, and Virizio coming around to gank. Silence, Scythe hits, but look how tanky Cope was. Absorbed all that Scythe overall and walks away relatively unscathed.
Makey, gotta be careful here. Nice ultimate to give him that CC immunity, avoids the freeze. Cope up into the sky, looking for the right target. The call is to disengage. Mexiety used that Shards of Ice, but the execute is there. Virizio picks up the kill.
Cope forced to back out. Viper on the front line again. Gonna get rained on with bombs from Agni, but the stun did not hit home during the rollout. 6-5 in favor of Cope. They're just that one pick onto the jungle Ymir, and both the hunters thought about rotating there, but at the most part, I think Sops just wants to farm to catch up and not try and rotate to these fights.
This is the standard play. Whenever there's a fight happening on the opposite side of the duo lane, the hunters rotate mid just to make sure that this is it. It's enemy, dude.
Well, Sops went for the red buff. If Sops would have walked towards lane here, he would have spotted this, but Panda just made that perfect play overall. With the Assy, with the Transcendence, he had the damage to just take that on his own.
That's enemy. That's what they do. That's what I think that, you know, teams haven't played against enemy in a while. They haven't seen them in competitive play. You know, they don't make super regionals. They don't make the world championships. And you forget what their calling card is, and that's doing objectives without you realizing it. That's exactly how they get the majority of their leads. And that really does push this lead into a really, really comfortable spot for enemy. 4K gold at the 16-minute mark is very, very good.
And it looks like the decision from enemy to like just give up the right-hand side in the early game where they were being pressured by Ratatoskr, by a Ymir, to focus on the duo lane, put the Apollo massively behind. And Fearno's not really had a chance to do much in this mid lane on this Ullr.
No, not whatsoever. And Makey's, you got to give credit to him. New to this sort of scene, at least recently, and he does get soloed once, but with how far behind he was, it certainly could have been a lot worse for enemy. And you're exactly right. Just focusing down Sops, making sure that the star player PandaCat has the tools to carry, and he's done just that so far. He's already level 16.
I mean, look at what PandaCat's done. He's picked up a solo kill at least once in that lane. He's picked up the Gold Fury in his own, the tier 1 tower as well. So it's given all this room for PandaCat to get a 2-level lead and be 4-1-0. And you don't really want to deal with a fed Cupid.
No, it doesn't. It's not easy because of that team fighting capability, and when his autos are hitting just as hard as any other hunter, very, very difficult to deal with. You can see he's actually trying to bait himself a little bit in the middle lane, but on the left-hand side, Sops just getting some much-needed farm. In fact, trying to poke out this tower. Makey forced teleport over here to defend it.
Good
that
teleport.
leaves the right side very, very exposed.
But now enemy trying to answer back in the mid lane, pressure in the tier 1 tower there as well. However, Cope playing very far back under the tier 1 tower, making sure they can defend this against the onslaught that come through. However, Virizio's having none of that. He's going to flank around the back.
And that's exactly where he wants to find those death side stun onto Viper, as well as the heart bomb shield already used, but he's still going to take about half his HP and poke. Cope only going to find the knockup onto Pain, who's looking to find a knockup of his own.
3-man into the ult from PandaCat as well. The Fields of Luck will only hit 2. Virizio wanted Cope, but Cope gets away using the beads and the dash for perfectly. Mackie comes in from the left-hand side, and the hearts and the wisps start to make an impact.
Viper still has that Cataclysm. It doesn't have any blink though. He is level 12, but hasn't back to base quite yet to pick up his second relic. Wall gonna stall the wave a little bit. Pain not able to find a pull. Tier 1 tower, but Cope around the back. There's the blanket from Mexiety onto Virizial. There's the purification beads. Cope gets stunned out, as does a 3-man stun thanks to the heart bomb that Mexiety hand delivered to the rest of his team.
This is regeneration versus no regeneration here. This is all it is. It's a battle of just over and over again sieging this, taking tower shots, poking each other out, but Hearts and Wisps are just too good in this scenario.
That's exactly, that's one of the things in the draft that we didn't get a chance to talk about, but just one side has sustain and one side does not. We see that power right now, and maybe that's another reason we're seeing so much Cupid, is that potent sustain. Viper pulled in off the bomb stun. There's the Cataclysm. The up-down isn't even needed. Khaos able to pick him up.
And Cub comes in at the right time. Virizial there does get a heal from the meditation coming out from MrMakey, recognizing the danger. Great roll from Ymir, looking at PandaCat. PandaCat's in a bit of trouble here. Cub was thinking about going to the backline, but MrMakey zones away the rest of the team.
Really great job there by MrMakey, doing exactly what he's supposed to and keeping out the damage dealers from his backline that is a little bit exposed. Now, the poke is still pretty good for enemy, but they've been here a long time. They may need to be careful about overextending. Never mind, Fearno just gets exploded underneath the tier 2 tower. Mexiety's next. Cope, he's up in the sky, finds a 3-man knockup, but just not enough damage to make it happen.
I thought Cope was really looking there to try and take the speed buff, get some experience, make sure that was secured, and still help defend the tier 2. But the burst from enemy was just too strong there. Landing all the abilities sets them up for a free tier 2. Now the Portal Demon as well. Fire Giant is soon on the cards.
And you can easily take this Portal Demon back and go through the portal and start up Fire Giant immediately, and you don't have to worry about spending all that gold because they've got so much gold in hand right now, but there's 2 deads. They want to make it happen. Now you can spend this gold, immediately teleport back, and still use those respawn timers to your advantage. One of the strongest things about this Portal Demon is scenarios just like this.
Started up now, and nobody on the side of Cope is still the problem is around. Cope and Sops on the left-hand side here looking to just pressure the tier 1 tower. Guess they recognize the Fire Giant's being done. Obviously, at this stage, these are professional players. They'll know. They're looking to trade out towers instead for the gold against the Fire Giant.
Virizial using that hovering death just as a sentry ward, basically, making sure he knows where everyone is, seeing if anyone was coming in to contest. No one was. PandaCat finds 2 in the jungle. Sprint pop, but not in time. Mexiety gets pulled back in, knocked up, nowhere to go. PandaCat 5-1-3.
Like the wall coming out from Mexiety there, but it wasn't enough to keep him alive. Overall, the bombs from Khaos over the top of the wall just deny that option as well. 10-5, the way of enemy, as Sops does pick up that tier 2 tower, but he's forced to run all the way back to his own side because Mackey's not going to let him just back for free.
But that 1,500 gold, very important. Cope is still the problem. Absolutely needed some of that. The problem is for Cope is that the right-hand side, very exposed. Fearno, his back is stopped by Makey there, exactly what you want him to do. With the Bluestone Pendant, he can't back either. They're actually, the collapse is on.
Yeah, Fearno's in a bit of trouble here. The axe to Mackey's going to slow them down for a minute. Virizial's coming around the corner. Fearno looking to avoid abilities more often than not. He's actually buying time for the rest of enemy to collapse. Fearno's going to fall down here for his second death. Virizial credited with the kill.
Yeah, Fearno does not have the impact that you want in the middle lane. 0, 2, and 3. Not, he's actually second on his team in player damage, but I think that says more about where his team is player damage-wise than him necessarily. Cope really the only one who's been able to do any sort of effective damage to the enemy team.
Solid play from enemy so far. We could just put it that way. For the first game in these relegations, they've looked pretty consistent, pretty solid. They've made adaptations based off what their enemy's done as well to adjust and keep control of this game. Composition-wise, pretty solid as well. Some of it is mixed up between counter picks as well as just solid, strong picks at the stage of the game.
Yeah, the sustained draft certainly working in enemy's favor. I think that was the kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, was that sustain in the middle lane. It was in enemy's favor for sure up until that point, but that was really the turning point of, okay, this game's most likely over at this stage. I mean, 12K gold is just a huge margin to try and make up, even at the 22-minute mark.
How do you feel about Cope then? Cope's team overall. Cope is the new problem. It's still the problem, I should say, not the new problem. But I mean, the team has been pretty good. Sops has had a rough matchup to deal with.
Yeah,
Viper's been picked a few times. Fearno's not really done anything though.
That's the problem. Mexiety's had some good plays on this Ymir, but not probably the impact that you still want from him overall. Flashes of good. The other times a little bit lackluster. Cope has looked strong all game long. I think that he's definitely been the bright spot for this team. Fearno, you know, we've seen how good he can be. Maybe just trying to stay in that hunter sort of mentality. That's why you're putting him on hunters in the mid lane as well. Yeah. Not only because of how strong crit is, but because you know Fearno can play hunters and maybe hasn't been practicing for this mid role. But overall, they've got a lot of work to do.
It does seem like they've had a couple of changes here, Cope, overall. I'm not actually sure what happened to Ballantyne in the mid lane. He was their original mid laner, I believe.
Viper was there.
Sorry, Viper was in the mid lane, and Valentine.
Yep.
Was in the other role as well, but I think they wanted to make change-ups there. But by losing that mid-presence, you know, it's a lot of synergy issues that do come to pass.
Yeah, Viper was used to playing that. I believe Zeus was a character that he played a decent amount during the open bracket stages, and just having that pressure mage that can also do a ton of damage is so important for a team.
Well, the first Phoenix now being in solid for enemy on the left-hand side. Sops is split pushing a tier 2 on the right here. Only 3 members to defend is in the mid lane. You can see Cope having to deal with Mackie there, but now Mackie's rotated towards this fight. Viper's in trouble again. The execute from Rizziel, the up-down was perfect. Talking about up-downs, there's another one. It's around the back. Pain keeps 2 out as Cope gets focused, but Cope's still alive until Pain pulls him back in.
The beautiful pull. Mexiety, he's next on the list. Heart Bomb gonna explode. Still very low. So quick, though, with that sprint, actually able to kite back into his fountain. But
Sops.
I'm not sure it's gonna matter.
Go Sops, be the hero, end the game on your own. It's the only way you may have a chance now. He's gonna go for the Phoenix. I had a feeling he was gonna go for the Titan. There's nothing else he can really do. Hoping for minions to kill it off at the end of the game. Enemy needs to send at least 1 person back to defend this, just in case. But I don't think Sops has really got the damage. And now Veriziel's here, and peace out goes Sops.
All of his health in 1 second there, basically, by Veriziel. And Sops needs to go all the way back to base because his team is losing in all of their defenses. All 3 Phoenixes down in favor of enemy, looking like a very strong team right now.
Yeah, very strong, and one to watch in the relegations too. Obviously, we've got a lot of teams here that have a lot of big names on here, but a team that was in the Season 2 finals for the most part, apart from like 1 or 2 members changing out. The core here, Khaos, Veriziel, and PainDeViande, and PandaCat, I guess, have all been at that point before.
Yeah, I mean, it was Khaos and Pain who were there with Vedium and Salt Machine and those guys, but Khaos and Pain were in that Season 2 World Final. PandaCat and Veriziel, they were winning that Epsilon Invitational. We're almost winning that Epsilon Invitational right behind Epsilon Esports at the time. So very strong play from them. You know what they're capable of. It's just that they didn't look like themselves during the fall split, during the group stages either.
And now Viper's keeping them busy at the moment. This is basically the fight here. It is a best of 1 overall here. So I understand Cope trying to play this one out, make something happen. The F6 is probably getting called in chat right now. Understandable from both sides, really. If it is a best of 1, you never say die, because you've got to hope for a chance that something goes wrong. And here's the play. This is what you try and do. Teleports as well.
Oh man,
here we
Rallying
go.
Ritual, this could actually
work.
If
they win this game, they're all trying to back really quick. They're bursting down with a frenzy as well. Are they going to end the game here? Are enemy going to lose this game off the back of this play? No, the Titan stands. Enemy, holy moly, that was close.
Oh my heart. That was awesome. That was really close.
Do you know what? You may not like playing in Season 4 and going as a player here, as a pro, going, that was gonna suck. But that's cool. That's fun, and that was damn well close. I called that yesterday with Mexiety. I didn't expect the second game in Relegations to have that as an aim. What a great play from Cope is still the problem.
I'm in shock. That was
too close. That was too close.
So close.
Too close.
Wow.
Woo.
I like.
Woo. Woo. Game 2. Woo. Well, let's have a little look back at that game. It was a very close end from Cope is still the problem there. Enemy, they've realized there's a weakness there on their team that they're going to have to be wary of in Season 4.
Yes.
These rituals, and with an Apollo and the likes, it can cause some problems.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that teams have to adjust to and be ready for. That was incredibly close. The frenzy pop as well.
Yep.
Whew, man, that was nuts.
Other than the end, which we thought was all still over and we're time to play it out, overall, Enemy had a fantastic performance apart from the skew whiff at the end there.
No harm, no foul. They won the game. Just because their Titan went down to 20% HP, it's whatever.
We saw Thanatos have a pretty good game again. Chapo in game 1 and game 2. Veriziel was doing what he needed to set up his boys.
The team communication was excellent, just going on the right targets all the time. And then Veriziel went for a little bit of a different style of build than Chapo, goes for the Shield of Regrowth and then uses the mobility to really chase people down. That's a pretty quick jungler right there, and he's only moving faster after he heals from his passive or any of his abilities. Just always on point, staying in the back, waiting for the CC to happen, and then using the death sights to chunk down the tanky targets. Love the play from Veriziel.
It almost felt as well with his hovering death that he was almost premature because he was up down very quickly most of the time, looking to confirm. PandaCat though had a whale of a time in the duo lane playing the Cupid up against an Apollo.
He sure did. I mean, he killed it all game. This was the real thing that got it all started for PandaCat in the duo lane, the double kill on the red buff, then ends up soloing the Gold Fury a little bit later on. Here's a solo kill that you mentioned. Yeah, just really, really strong play from PandaCat. And this is the star player that enemy need if they want to go back to their former glory as one of the top teams in North America.
And then to be fair, he came up big in the defense as well, because that could have been very awkward at the end there. But shout out to Fields of Love. Otherwise, enemy could have lost that first game.
If that isn't a 14K gold deficit, Cope win that game. If that's a 9K gold deficit, they win that game. With that play alone.
2 games down. Wow. Plenty more to come. We'll be back after a moment's notice with Game 3.